everyone, welcome to Immigration Talk Show. I'm your host Sam and you're watching Daily Immigration News. And now, let's get into today's headlines. Firstly, US starts deporting 205 Indian migrants amid Trump's border crackdown. Thousands protest deportations blocking major freeway in Los Angeles. Kristi Noem on migrants at Guantanamo Bay. Due process will be followed. Trump starts mass deportation. How many Indians will be affected? Pentagon deports over 5,000 immigrants via military flights. Some migrants released into US on monitoring programs after ICE arrest. President Trump's recent tariff decisions have significant implications for immigration policies and enforcement. Trump administration moves to an legal status for 530,000 migrants from Cuba, Haiti, Venezuela, and Nicaragua. Venezuelans feel betrayed after Trump ends deportation protections. So these were some of the headlines, and now let's get into the details. Firstly, US starts deporting 205 Indian migrants amid Trump's border crackdown. The US has begun deporting Indian migrants as part of Donald Trump's tough immigration policies. A military plane carrying 205 Indian nationals left San Antonio, Texas early this morning. This action is part of Trump's effort to deal with the large number of undocumented migrants in the country. Also, the Indian government has confirmed the identities of all the 205 people on the flight. And this is one of the biggest deportation actions, with more flights planned to send thousands of migrants back to their home countries. Trump has also made immigration control a key focus, also using military resources like planes and personnel to deport undocumented migrants. So far, military planes have also flown migrants to countries in Latin America such as Guatemala and Honduras. India is working closely with the US to manage the return of around 18,000 undocumented Indian migrants. And these deportations are part of Trump's plan to reduce illegal immigration and also to strengthen the border security. Thousands protest deportation blocking major freeway in Los Angeles. In Los Angeles, thousands of protesters marched on Sunday against President Donald Trump's plan for mass deportation. The protesters called the immigration reform, holding signs that read, "Nobody is illegal," and "Immigrants make America great." The march started in the morning on Olvera Street and continued to City Hall. By the afternoon, the protesters blocked all lanes of the US 101 freeway for several hours, causing major traffic delays. California Highway Patrol officers were present but did not clear the demonstrators immediately. The freeway reopened after more than 5 hours, and similar protests took place in other cities as well, including San Diego and Dallas, where hundreds more gathered to oppose recent immigration arrests and express their frustration with Trump's policies. Protesters say they want to see more support for immigrants and an end to the deportation efforts. Kristi Noem on migrant at Guantanamo Bay. Due process will be followed. In a recent interview on NBC's Meet the Press, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem addressed the Trump's administration plan to use Guantanamo Bay as a detention center for migrants. She reassured the public that due process will be followed for those housed at the facility, but avoided clarifying if women and children would also be detained there. Noem stated that Guantanamo would be used to house the worst of the worst, referring to migrants with criminal backgrounds. She also emphasized that the administration's priority is to target individuals who pose a threat to public safety, including those with warrants for serious crimes such as murder, rape, and drug trafficking. When asked whether women and children could be detained at Guantanamo, Noem sidestepped the question, stating that the administration would use available facilities as deemed appropriate. She also highlighted that other detention centers across the US would be used to process migrants with final removal orders. Trump starts mass deportation. How many Indians will be affected? The US government, led by President Donald Trump, has started a large-scale deportation of illegal immigrants. On Tuesday, a US military aircraft flew 205 Indian nationals from Texas back to Amritsar, Punjab. This is part of Trump's promise to deport millions of undocumented migrants. Trump's administration is using both military and commercial flights to deport immigrants, with more planned flights for Indian nationals expected soon. Around 725,000 undocumented Indians live in the US, with an estimated 20,000 likely to be deported. India has agreed to take back its undocumented citizens, and President Trump also mentioned that Prime Minister Narendra Modi supports the return of illegal Indian immigrants. Countries that refuse to accept deported citizens could face sanctions, as seen with Colombia, which was hit with tariffs after initially resisting. Pentagon deports over 5,000 immigrants via military flights. The Pentagon has deported over 5,000 immigrants detained by U.S. authorities in El Paso, Texas, and San Diego, California, using military planes. Migrants have been flown to countries such as Guatemala, Peru, and Honduras. Although military flights are a costlier option, with one flight to Guatemala last week costing around $4,675 per migrant. Well, the US government is using this method to speed up the deportation process. More deportation flights are expected in the coming weeks as part of government's stricter immigration enforcement efforts. Some migrants released into US on monitoring programs after ICE arrest. Some migrants who were arrested by the Trump administration are now being released but are closely monitored to ensure they show up for their immigration hearings. Instead of being kept in detention centers, which are full and have limited space, they are placed in monitoring programs. And these programs use tracking devices to follow the migrants' movements, and they also have to check in regularly with immigration authorities. So ICE can't detain everyone, especially if the person's home country refuses to take them back. President Trump is working to make agreements with these countries to help with deportations. Trump has also asked for more arrest of people living in the US illegally, aiming for around 1,200 to 1,500 arrests per day. President Trump's recent tariff decisions have significant implications for immigration policies and enforcement. If we talk about tariff on Canada and Mexico, then the 25% tariff on imports from Canada and Mexico was initially intended to pressure these countries into enhancing border security and also curbing the illegal immigration and drug trafficking. In exchange, Canada agreed to deploy 10,000 officers to bolster border security and combat fentanyl trafficking, while Mexico committed to stationing 10,000 National Guard troops at its northern border to control migrant flows. In return, the US pledged to address gun trafficking into Mexico. So if we talk about impact on immigration, then these agreements aim to strengthen border enforcement and also reduce the illegal immigration and drug smuggling. By enhancing security measures, both Canada and Mexico are expected to more effectively manage migrant flows and prevent the transit of illicit substances into the US. And this collaborative approach seeks to address the root causes of illegal immigration and drug trafficking, potentially leading to a decrease in unauthorized crossings and related criminal activities. Also talking about tariff on China. In contrast, the 10% tariff on Chinese imports is primarily an economic measure targeting trade imbalances and intellectual property concerns. While it may indirectly affect immigration patterns by influencing economic conditions, but it does not directly address immigration issues. Well, in summary, the tariff agreements with Canada and Mexico are directly linked to immigration enforcement, aiming to enhance border security and also reduce the illegal immigration and drug trafficking. The tariff on China, however, is focused on economic objectives and does not have a direct impact on immigration policies. Trump administration moves to an legal status for 530,000 migrants from Cuba, Haiti, Venezuela, and Nicaragua. The Trump administration is planning to cancel a Biden-era program that allowed over 530,000 migrants from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela to legally enter the US. And this program, called CHNV, let migrants come to the US with the help of American sponsors and gave them work permits and temporary legal status. Now the Trump's team says that this program was misused and they plan to take away the legal status of those who entered under it. Migrants who don't have other protections like asylum or green cards may face deportations. Immigration agents are already preparing to begin the process. Venezuelans feel betrayed after Trump ends deportation protections. The Trump administration plans to end TPS for nearly 350,000 Venezuelans. And this means that they are going to lose protections from deportation and work permits in 60 days. Many fear returning to Venezuela due to safety concerns, including the risk of imprisonment. Activists call the decision a betrayal, as TPS holders have been living legally in the US and passed background checks. The move follows a meeting between Trump's team and Venezuelan officials about migration, though Venezuela has not confirmed if it will accept deportees. Some Venezuelans are considering legal action to block the deportations. So that's all for today's update. Thank you so much for watching this video till the end. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Immigration Talk Show. We'll be back with more updates tomorrow. See you next time.